So you're with me tonight to talk about the shift from worthiness to healing. And I'm really excited to be here with you. It's a crazy, crazy time in the world. And I've been writing about it on Facebook, where things are erupting. Not only have we had lockdown, but we've had a lot of violence towards Black people that has erupted. And this is not something that's new. It's something that is only now being recorded. And for centuries, white people have been treating Black people atrociously. And I'm glad that it's coming to light so that we together can dismantle this. And I'll be going into a bit of how this impacts Black people's self-worth too. So we'll be talking about that later. But I just want to share to all the people who are protesting out there, stay safe. And I understand your fury and your anger, and I care. And Home for Restoring Love is a safe space for you to come and share and be validated and be loved. So I wanted to start with that because I think it's the most important thing going on right now. And we're going to be talking about abuse and issues in childhood. But I know as a white person who's gone through a huge array from sexual abuse, physical abuse, bullying, scapegoating, the whole thing, what I didn't have in my life was having to worry that walking outside just because of the color of my skin that I was going to get violated. That is a constant source of fear and anxiety, and also leads to worthlessness in so many people. So we're going to be looking at that. But I'm well aware of my white privilege, and I want to use it for good so that I can make a difference and be an ally to every Black person in my community. Not only just Black people, but in my Restore program last week, a lady came into the call in tears because she's a victim of racism in the States. And we both just sat and cried together because it's a huge issue in the world. And yeah, I've witnessed it a lot, and I feel so deeply, and I want to make a big difference. And I want to be able to use my platform to dismantle white privilege and ensure that every person within my community is treated with love, respect, care, and cherishing. And so I want you to know that throughout this whole workshop that's free as a gift from me to you, that my community tolerates no racism at all. And so I'm just letting you know that from the start. So, all right. So let's begin. I'm excited to have you all here. And I know there's a lot of tension in the world and a lot of fear. And your fear, your anxiety, your anger, your rage, your trauma is all welcome in my group, on my page. It is a place of loving witness to all of you and deep support. So let's begin. I have got this crazy setup where I'm not going to be able to see comments on this page, and I'm going to have to look over here to see comments. So if you see me looking, it's because I've got another laptop over there and I've got notes down here. So let me find where my little slides are. Oh, I need to press share screen. Okay. There we go. All right. Let's see. Oh, that's the wrong one. This is the right one. There are all these little things that I have to remember, and these are not my computers because I forgot my computer at somebody else's house. So I'm hoping this all works. It looks like it's working. Woohoo! Okay, so this is about shifting out of worthlessness into love so that you can shine on, you crazy diamond. You know, we have all these things in life, like a diamond does, of all this carbon crushed down onto it, is what forms a diamond. And that's the same as us. We have all these life experiences that crush us down. And when you take out a diamond from a mine, it's just a little bit of, it just looks a bit like a bit of dirt. It's only when it's polished and shone into who it really is that it shines and radiates. And you can really see the true beauty inside. And I know each and every one of you can do this journey. I have, and it's not easy. But with the right steps, it can go faster than doing it alone. So let's have a look. All right. So I'm going to whiz through what we're going to go through so you get a sense of an overview of what it is. So first is the mission that we're looking at. The next is the bids for love, how we reached out for love in childhood, and what we got in return is how we wire ourselves. The history of that behavior, where did how our parents treated us come from in them? And then what is the impact of worthlessness on us today? And then the story of Betty, who started working with me she did her first workshop in April last year. And she said, I hate myself, this is never going to work. And by the end of the workshop, just the workshop, she was able to look at herself and say she loved her. She did not think that was possible. So, but here's the thing that Betty did, is that she got involved and she deliberately worked on everything. And she commented on every post. She was determined that she would have a breakthrough, and she did. Okay, then we're going to look at what happened in childhood that made us feel like we're a failure and worthless. And then we're going to look at what are the skills that we need to grow and heal to come out of that, the practices that we can do on a daily basis, each moment in how we relate to ourselves. And I'm going to share the story of Nikki, because I know a lot of you have shared with me that you've struggled with your critical voice. So I'm going to share with you Nikki's story. Now, these are fake names. I'm just telling you now. Each person in my group has chosen a fake name for themselves. So I'm sharing with you their fake names. Real people, just aliases to protect their privacy. And then I'm going to, instead of homework, I'm going to share with you some love work that you can do. One of them is inspired by Nicola, that she posted in the group today. And then I'm going to share with a contest with a juicy prize for anybody who wants to engage. And then finally, I'm going to share about the Q&A session tomorrow for those of you who've got questions that I don't get to answer tonight. Right. Are you ready, everyone? Let's just see. Cheryl says it's a beautiful group and she feels very safe there. It's beautiful having you with us. And I love you being there. Hello, everybody else, and Nikki and Danielle. Good to see you. All right. I really need to have my glasses on to see that one. I'll get my glasses here because I'm squinting and then I look weird. So then I can see it, but then I'm closer up to this one so that you can see me. All right. So this is the mission. The mission is, I don't want you living a life that is just okay. I want you living a life where you wake up in the morning and you leap out of bed because you are happy and excited to be alive. But there have been blocks and things that have got in the way of who you truly are, that once we clear those, you can shine. And I'm not saying this is a miracle cure. This is not. It doesn't happen overnight. So this workshop is about planting the seeds of your potential and giving you a guide to the healing. By the end of the week, you're not going to suddenly go, right, I can for the rest of my life be happy. Because what I've found at each stage is you get to a stage of growth and you're stable and happy, and then you'll go down because you're safe enough to go to other things that are wanting to be healed, and then you'll come up again, thriving at a different stage of being, and then you'll go down again. So shining like a crazy diamond is not just this fake, positive, happy, smiley, inauthentic person that you cringe at. This is about truly living your purpose, growing your talents, and to shine as a crazy diamond, to sparkle a diamond, you have to chip away at things. That isn't necessarily comfortable. But when you can shine as who you are, it's utterly radiant and beautiful. And that's what I want to support you to do. All right. So in order to get to that place where we can do that, we need to understand why you feel worthless and then how to love you so that you can chip away at the things that are not you. And alongside that, you need to know that you can gain the skills to create who you are. Instead of thinking, I'm bad, I'm useless, and I'm never going to change. What I want you to know is that you just, in your life, for various reasons, had areas of yourself that weren't developed. It's not because you're bad, it's just that you didn't have that facilitated around you. And now you can create that. So you can grow the skills. It's just a matter of knowing, oh, this area isn't working. This is who can support that, and this is how I can change. It sounds simple, and ultimately it is simple, but it's not always easy. So let's go on. All right. So there's this thing that John Gottman shared about bids for love, that for those of you in Home for Restoring Love and in Restore, you would have heard me speak about this, because for me, this blew me away. He talks about how we have these bids for love, that when we reach out to somebody, how they respond lets us know whether we feel loved or not. So I'll give you an example. Oh, wow, I've actually got it here. My daughter did it the other day. So she was doing a speech and she used this to describe it. So I'll do this quickly. Let's pretend that I just bought this, which I did, a beautiful little sun. And I turned around to say, my partner, I don't have a partner right now, but let's just pretend. So I held this up and I went, look what I just got. Isn't it fun? And he went, that's fucking awful. I don't even know why you think that's great. It's useless. It looks horrendous. Why would you even think to buy that? What do you like? That is proactive destructive. That lets somebody know, I don't give a damn. You're in the way, and I don't enjoy who you are or what you do. It's violating, and it destroys somebody's sense of self. The next is passive destructive. Look at my son, isn't it great? Oh, God. It lets somebody know, I'm not interested in you, and I don't care about you. The next one. Look at the sun that I just bought. Oh, yeah, I see. The sun. Great. You can tell that they love you, but they just have got no interest in what you're doing. So they might love you, but not like that. Then there's the next one. Look at the sun that I've just bought. Wow, I can see why you love that. It's got orange and gold and it's shiny. And I just know, I can see in your eyes how much that lights you up. Oh my goodness, I can see why you love that. So that is proactive constructive. Now I'm curious. When you were growing up, what did you have? Did you have proactive destructive, passive destructive, passive constructive, or proactive constructive? Because the first three, John Gottman said, oh dear, I've just lost my little thing. John Gottman said, are all toxic. They all leave a person feeling off in themselves. The only one that's truly connecting and truly loving is the proactive, constructive bid for love. And if you had any of the other three, you feel inside of yourself like you're deadened and killed off. Because if you're reaching out for love and you go, hi, look at this, and they just go, ugh, it's like this weight in your soul that you're not seen, you're not loved. And then it's really hard to sparkle when you get dead eyes into you. You feel dead inside. And when you feel dead inside, you feel worthless. So I'm curious too, what do you mostly do to others? Because if you've had any of those destructive ones or passive constructive, that's frequently how you are taught to treat others. And it takes an unlearning and a decision from a strong willpower of, I'm going to be proactive, constructive. And I'll give you an example. When I used to wake up and go into my mother's room, she'd be reading the paper and she would hardly look up. She'd just go, quick, go and get changed. And I would just feel so dead inside because I didn't feel noticed or loved. So when my kids woke up, when they were tiny and they came in my room, I would go, good morning, hello, my sweetheart, how are you? Every morning, so that they always had a smiley face letting them know I utterly love them and I want them alive. So which were you treated with, and how do you treat, if you have kids or friends, how do you treat them? So, great. Well, here's the thing too, as we're going through this. The mission in this is not to shame you or to blame you or to make you wrong. The mission in this is to create awareness. So you can go, right, I'm doing this, tick, I want to change, but you didn't know any different because that's what you were programmed with. Here's the thing, you weren't taught at school, you weren't taught in university. There isn't like, here's emotional processing and healthy relating. There wasn't a class like that at school. So there's no making yourself wrong for not knowing any different. This is the place to learn differently, because I was passionate about it. So I studied attachment therapy, integral theory, degree in psychology, theraplay, psychodrama. I trained in little bits of everything so that I could understand this. So that I can offer it to you and help you. But you might be a teacher or a nurse or a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant or a stay-at-home mum. This is not what you have energy for. So now I can teach you and give it to you, but please promise me no shame or guilt or making yourself wrong. That's not what this purpose is. The purpose of this is to love you, to give you understanding so that you know better, and to give you the skills so you can do better. But no shame. I just want you to love you. That's the whole purpose of this, is to become your own best friend. It's not to make you wrong. All right, let's go on. All right. So let's look at the history of where that behavior was programmed. So in the top left-hand corner is somebody's relationship to themselves. So let's say your parent, your grandparent, and what was going on with themselves. So they may have, for instance, grown up in racism, where they were told they were ugly, useless, good for nothing. And so they have a sense of self-hate. If they have that, whatever is programmed into you will come out. So that may have come out. It may be that they were abused themselves. And so that's what comes out of them. And they have self-hate that just leaks out into the world. They may have, like clients that I've worked with, they may have lost a baby just before you, and they're still grieving. And so when they're grieving, they're not able to function. They're non-functioning, and then they have that still face, because you know what it looks like when somebody's grieving. They often look depressed, and they're just empty inside. And so when a little baby looks at them, hi, mama, and the mother is just like non-functioning, then how the baby feels about themselves is, I'm not worthy of love. She's not smiling at me. Hi, kids. Hey. My kids have just come home. In the boot of the car. Don't make a noise, though, because I'm recording. Okay, so if they've had the still face, I don't know if you've seen, and I'm happy to put into the comments the still-faced video. Sweetheart, if you fancy listening, you could come and read through and tell me if I'm missing any comments that I need to speak to, and you could nudge me, or you don't want if you're tired. You're tired? Okay, she's tired. So I just don't want to, I don't want to miss anything. Okay, so Danielle says she was told to go outside or go away. So just, you know, there was a big thing of children should be seen and not heard. And what that leads to is the sense of, I'm not valid, my voice doesn't matter, they don't want me around. And that all leads to a sense of worthlessness. There were other families that didn't have that, who when the kids spoke, they would go, what do you want to say, babe? And the kid would go, oh, I matter and I'm interesting. So it just would leave you with the sense of, I don't matter to anybody. All right. Yes. As Tiffany says, no shame. Sophie says that it was a mix of constructive and proactive constructive, and that she's working and becoming more proactive constructive. All right. So let me find myself. Don't come and make a noise, all right? Thanks, babe. All right. So I was speaking about still face, and maybe somebody could Google. I don't want to stop and Google, but maybe somebody could Google the still-faced video. It's like 2 minutes and put it in there. Or maybe I'll do that afterwards so you don't get distracted. But the still-faced video shows this mum. It's so distracting, my kids coming home and trying to be quiet, and they just don't have that capacity.
That's a bit rude. You're trying.
You are trying, but you're not. You've got plastic pockets. They're not quiet. Oh, go and do that in the other room, babe. Take the whole bag and close the door, please. I love you. You're just noisy when I'm doing a live video. Sure. Thank you. Okay. So the still faces, when you're like this, you see this video of this baby where the mom was going, hello, my darling, how are you? And the baby was smiling. And then suddenly the mom goes, the psychologist instructs the mom to go still face. And the baby just squirms and screeches, you know, that high-pitched screech. And that's how many of us went through life, where our parents were still faced. So we got, this was me, completely deregulated, bouncing off the walls. Then we would get shouted at and shamed for making a noise. But it was only because we had that still face around us. So we felt like we were badly behaved, bad children, attention seeking, demanding, rude, where actually we were just wanting love. And had our parents just responded to us with love, none of that deregulating behavior would have been like that as hugely. You know, there are differences where there are folk who are not neurotypical, who do have like sensory disorders, and it's really hard. But generally, that sort of behavior is systemic from parents having that still-faced, and then the kid just gets completely deregulated and displays all the emotion that the parent is repressing in themselves. And this leads to mental illness. If we had a parent who was bipolar, depressed, schizophrenic, had high anxiety, where they monitored us and controlled us because they were anxious, and it didn't allow us to live, then that would make us think, I can't think for myself, and there must be something wrong with me if they're doing this. Or if they were exploding, it would make us think it's our fault and we're responsible for our parents' behavior. And all of this would lead to us feeling like we're worthless and there's something wrong with us. So now So that's how the parent is relating to themselves, how it impacts us. This is how parents relating to each other impacts us. I might just delete those so that you can focus on one at a time. When I studied my psychology degree, it was a BA in South Africa, there's one thing which is pretty shitty to only remember one thing in my whole psychology degree, but it just whacked me like a ton of bricks, where they said how a mother is treated dictates the child's self-esteem. And I just went, no wonder I feel so shit about myself. Because my father was horrendous to my mother. And the whole penny just dropped of, no wonder I feel so bad about myself because I saw my mother being treated so badly. And that shifted everything for me. It also meant for me that because I felt so worthless, I got into a relationship with somebody who was still-faced to me, was not proactive, constructive, was very much either passive destructive or proactive destructive, called me ugly, said that he hated me. There were so many things where he just completely demoralized me in front of my kids. And it impacted my kids' self-esteem. And when I remembered that, I was like, this is not good for them. So I moved 3 hours away so that they would see him treating me badly less, until the point they got old enough to say, we don't like the way you treat us. And that was really hectic. And so they haven't seen him for many years. But here's the amazing thing. The moment that I said, I'm not seeing him and my mum, because they did that to me too. She would tell them that I was useless and pathetic. As soon as that happened, my children said they were not going to play with the mean children in school anymore within a week of me saying to my mom, I'm not seeing you anymore because you're mean. So when the mother is treated with disrespect, the child's self-esteem is injured. Okay. So the next is affairs, abuse, and domestic violence. You think of an affair, of how obsessive and crazy it is. When a parent's head is all around an affair, they're not present to the kid and proactive with the child. And so the child thinks there's something wrong with them. If they loved me enough, they wouldn't be over there. When there's abuse, a child thinks, what can I do? And in domestic violence too, what can I do to stop this? There's a friend of mine, Linny, who's written an incredible book about how her father held a gun to her mum. It's called To Soften the Blow. And one day, Linny has said she will come and speak to the whole of Home for Restoring Love about her experience. She's an incredible human. I just love her. And she said, how that imprinted on her, of that as children, we have to protect our parents. Then it doesn't allow us to play, to be free, to love ourselves, because we're having to, our job is then to parent our parent, and we're not there for ourselves. So we feel valued as a parent, but not as a human being in ourselves. That is worthless. That has no attention. So if we're playing and looking after ourselves, that's demonized, but being a parent to the parent is rewarded. And so we abandon ourselves to be the parent of our parent. And then we feel worthless as who we are, and only function as a people pleaser to get some love. Okay. Oh, thank you, Danielle. You're a star. All right. So the other thing that impacts us in childhood is not having a loving witness. I'm hearing I need to come back to that in a second. So I'm going to go on to the next thing, and then I'll come back to that. So it can be that our parents had that programmed to them from the previous generation, that they had abuse. They just felt that was what they deserved. They had a child. They felt that that's what children deserve. And they didn't stop that. Now, had your parent had a loving witness in childhood, that gave them love, that gave them attention, that let them know that they matter, they may have stopped it because they could go, wow, this feels so much better. I don't want to do that. If you've had an experience where you've had a microaggression or you've had somebody treating you badly, and somebody else is witnessing it and watching it and then turns away and ignores it, and you look to the parent to go, what's going on here? Was this okay? Did I deserve this? And the parent turns their back on you. It leaves you thinking, I did deserve this because I'm bad. If you had a loving witness that turns to you and goes, this is not okay and I won't stand for it, then you know you matter and that behavior was wrong. But when there was a witness who ignored you, that's another violation. That's emotional abuse, where you were ignored and your experience is not negated by their silence. And that leaves you thinking that you're bad and you deserve that treatment. And that's hard hitting for many people to wake up and go, I didn't have that, so I must be bad. No, you didn't have that because they didn't know how to do that. It's not personal to you. So because they didn't have that loving witness at some point to let them know that, you know, for instance, I grew up in South Africa. It was extremely racist. And I used to be around my father when he would be making racist comments. And I would say to him, I don't like that. And he would just go, you're a black lover, but with not such nice words, and dismiss me. And I would say, I don't think you can treat anybody like that. And everybody, his friends and my brothers, would all laugh at me. And it left me feeling like I don't have a voice and I don't deserve to be listened to. And it was scary. But I knew inside of me that it wasn't okay. And I was describing to another guy yesterday that I remember going to his house. And it was the first time I'd gone there. And his dad was making racist comments. And I looked at his mum and I looked at my mum. And both of them smiled and laughed. And I was outraged. I was outraged that nobody was staying. Nobody was being the loving witness that this was wrong. Nobody was saying this is not okay. And I just said to my mum, I will never go to that house again. I won't be around people like that. And she was just like, well, you know, it's South Africa. It's just, I'm like, no, that's not okay. And so at times in our lives when we are around toxic behavior, we have to become our own loving witness to something and stand up and go, no, this is not all right. But if we didn't have that impulse within us, it would just repress us and make us feel we're not deserving. Our voice is empty and hollow, and we don't matter. So for whatever reason, they didn't break the cycle, and they repeated us with us. So their self-loathing became our self-loathing, and we became worthless in ourselves. And I can see it so clearly that my mum used to say to me, my friends are not proactive and loving. They don't reach out to me. And then I noticed for myself, me going to my daughter, Treya, my friends are not proactive. And I heard myself and I was like, no, I'm breaking the cycle. I'm either going to find healthy friends or I'm not going to lay it on you because I'm not having you have that. And so I did. I shifted my friendship circle and I have proactive, loving friends who care about me. And my kids can see that. And so I don't live with this life of going, oh, nobody cares. Nobody's there for me. Like I see them meeting up with other people and they don't care about me. It doesn't happen. So what area do you see yourself repeating with your parents that you can call on yourself to shift? All right, let's look at this. So that was the top one that we were just looking at, is people's behaviors. This is where we're looking at the systems in the world that impact our worthlessness. So the media showing pictures of ideal beauty rather than you're gorgeous as you are, be the size and weight that makes you happy. Or the whiter your skin, the more beautiful you are. If you've lived with that message your whole life, then the darker your skin is, the worse you feel. And it's not just from black to white. It's in Indian culture too, where whiter skin looks prettier. And that's because of colonization, of whites coming in going, we are lovely. And the whiter your skin is, the more beautiful you are. And that's just atrocious. That just because of that white supremacy, that it leaves this whole population of beautiful people feeling like they are worthless. There's also the education, where the system is designed to keep you silent rather than empower you to speak out. So you just have to be a number sitting in a room, and if you don't fit into the education system, you think you're bad or something's wrong with you. Like, I had weird stuff going on. I couldn't focus. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't write. I couldn't read. I could sharpen pencil crayons. I got very good at sharpening pencil crayons, and I just used to do that to perfection. I'd sit behind the teacher so she wouldn't notice me, and she was an alcoholic, so she didn't really. And I would just sharpen my pencil, and they took me out of that and took me into a special needs classroom. But because I couldn't focus, which I'm pretty sure was because of the abuse at home, so I was really used to being hyper vigilant. So if there was any sound, like something moved, I would get really shocked, and then it would take me ages to calm down. So the carpenter in the school built like a box around me so I could only see forward. And then I got known at the school as the little box girl, and nobody in the school would play with me because obviously I was the worst child in the whole school, because there was only one girl that had to have a box around her. So education just made me, I just remember wanting to hide. I used to hide behind bushes because if nobody saw me, nobody would bully me. And it really made me wish I was dead, wish I was invisible, so that nobody would harm me. And I knew that I must be bad if everybody in the school didn't want me around. It meant that my siblings wished that I wasn't their sibling, because they would get bullied because they were just my brother or sister. So they would pretend they didn't know me. So I was just like, I really don't want to be alive here. I've spoken a bit about racism, and I've shared a lot about how all around the world colonialists have gone in and have, from slavery to going into a country and taking over the country, like South Africa, Zimbabwe, America, and have made people know, one, we're not going to pay you for the work you do because you're worthless and you're just going to work for us. We're going to make you work for nothing, and then we're going to make money off your back. We're going to create laws that make you sure that you can't buy any land, so your family can't build up an inheritance. So generations of blacks will suffer behind you with worse education, worse healthcare, horrendous policing that kills people frequently, as well as higher prison sentences for non-violent crimes, more arrests, completely devastating families, like in America, where 80% of the population in prisons are black people, but in comparison to the percent of how many black people there are in America, it's crazy. So this deeply impacts people and leaves them feeling like they're worthless. And then there's war, where I grew up. I was born in Zimbabwe, and when I was born, my father had been fighting in the war for a year. And I have confronted him, and which is part of the reason that my father hated me, was because I told him that I thought the war was atrocious and wrong, and that I didn't support him killing people for land that he didn't belong in. And so I didn't speak to my dad for many years because I told him that. But the impact of him being away fighting in the war 4 weeks and coming back 4 weeks meant that he and I, from early on, had no attachment, because when he came home, he was in this sort of aggressive, adrenaline-filled energy, and my mother was having an affair with the manager of the farm, who would swap with my dad 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. And war, you think of the PTSD. I remember speaking to one of my dad's friends, and I said, "How did the war impact you?" He said, "It didn't at all. I just have a love of wine." He was an alcoholic after the war. He started drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning. By mid-afternoon, he was slurring his words every day, but he said it didn't impact him. My godfather said it didn't really impact me, but I don't speak very much since the war. It's just like this complete denial. But being around and growing up in that environment as a child, where people were drinking, not talking, still-faced, aggressive, it leaves you thinking there's something wrong with you because these adults are not relating to you in a healthy way. And you look at the war, from the Iraq war to countless things that are military who in the States their parents are taken off them for months at a time. That attachment wound is huge. That makes you think, if my dad really loved me, he would be here. It's a hard situation. All right. So let's look at the impact of worthlessness. And maybe you can share in the comments, what do you feel? So I've got one computer here where the slides are, and one over here where the comments are. So Danielle, for anybody who's finding this intense and hard, I want you to give yourself a hug, and I want you to just tap quite fast, and I want you to take a big breath. Big release breath, like a fountain of love going out of your body, and tap quite fast to just process the edge of the trigger. And take a deep breath. And I want you to shake it out so that the adrenaline and trigger can be released from your body. And just look at me and feel my love, and feel me with you, and know my care. And keep breathing through it, and shake your legs, shake your hands. And that allows just like an animal when they've got like a shock, where you see them shaking off, and then they can proceed again. So just shake it off. All right. So Shafira, yes, it will be saved later, and you've got about 10 days until next Friday to be able to watch it, and then all the videos will be taken down. All right. So for those of you who are watching, share in the comments, how do you feel this worthlessness impacts you? All right. Let's have a look. It makes you feel unlovable. Other people are loved, and you are not, because you look at other people and their parents are interacting with them beautifully and lovingly, and then you look at yours, who might be depressed, and you think, it must be because of me. If she loved me enough, she wouldn't feel like that. That's the child's eyes. It's not the truth. That's the child's eyes thinking, I'm not lovable. You think I'm not good enough. You think how it impacts you is you get no confidence. I remember when I was small and living in that little box girl, I had no confidence. I remember like wanting to shrink into a little ball and just hide, because if I spoke, I might say something wrong and get into trouble. I was petrified. you feel you've got no value. Now, there's so many situations that I've been in, like one work situation where I was a therapist to 90 kids and to 90 teenagers, and the headmaster said, can we just take 5,000 off your salary because we know you do this job for free and we're not able to balance the books. So, and I said, no, that doesn't work for me. And they were like, well, that's what we're doing. So I was just like, what? Initially I was like, that's fine, because but then I was looking at my bank balance and I couldn't cope with that. But there was a sense frequently all around me that people just felt, she doesn't have any value. Her job is just to serve us and we don't actually care. That's spelt wrong. It should be doormat. I remember when my guy who I lived with, we shared a flat, and he came in one day and said, could you just lie on the floor over there because I'd like to clean my shoes? And I was like, what? And he's like, well, you're a doormat to everybody else. You might as well be a doormat to me. And I was like, huh? And he's like, well, it's true. And I couldn't disagree. It was. I did everything for everyone that anybody asked because I desperately wanted their love. But I didn't have the self-worth to say no to people who were using me. And I felt desperate. I remember when if a guy didn't text me back after I'd text him, I would just be desperate, going, oh my God, he doesn't love me. I would pace up and down going, what shall I do? Shall I text back? Shall I wait? What shall I do? What shall I do? If I just notice him, maybe if I post something on Facebook, he might respond because then he cares. Maybe he'll add me as a friend. Oh God, it was just horrendous to feel that desperate. I would lie awake at night going, did I say something wrong? Let me reread what I said. Was there something inside that? Oh God, it was just like the rumination in my head, because I didn't have that self-worth to go, oh, he's not messaging me back. I'll move on because I want to be around people who are responsive. Duh! I didn't have that because I just felt so worthless inside. Maybe you have that. Maybe you have that desperation. The other is feeling empty and numb. So you just feel blank. I remember for a very long time when I had PTSD, between clients, I would just sit and stare at the wall. My house got messier and messier and messier. There was like crunchy stuff under my feet. And I just had no motivation, no energy. And I just felt like I had left my body and I was just an empty shell, just sitting there, nothing to give. And then my kids would come home and I'd have to go and get my kids. And I would just have to find in myself, and I would put all my energy into my kids, and then my kids would go to bed and I would collapse. And I would just save all my energy for that little time between 3 and 7, and the rest of it, I was just hardly functioning. And that's a frequent thing with people who have had racism, both witnessing it and not being able to stop it, as well as experiencing it, is that we often disassociate from ourselves because it's something so abhorrent that we can't live with. But our voices, like for me, my voice was so small, it was such a huge systemic thing I couldn't live with or do anything about. So I just leave my body because the pain of it was so extreme. And for Black people, that was like that too. If you didn't agree, you would get fired, you would get beaten, you would get demoralized, verbally abused, physically abused, lynched if you didn't agree. So there was a sense you had to leave your body a lot, from the microaggressions of people insulting as you walk down the street. You had to leave your body a lot because otherwise the pain inside of you would be so huge that it would be hard to cope. So disassociating was like a protective mechanism from the horrific, disgusting racism that just abounds everywhere. Now I can't see what this is. Oops, I'm using the wrong mouse. I've got two mice here. Oh, self-criticism. So, okay, so self-criticism, so many people that I work with have this, that they just feel, you have this bully inside their head. We're going to look at Nikki a little later, this bully inside their head that just goes on and on telling them that they're not good enough, they haven't done it right, etc., etc. Then they're needy. Like I would, if I got so needy that I had to say to a friend, if I text you and you're in a meeting, just text an X back so I know you love me, because otherwise I think you don't. That was to a female friend. That's how needy I felt, because I just couldn't cope with the rejection of that still-faced energy that my dad used to give me. I just used to get so triggered into trauma. And you might feel discombobulated, where you just are reeling inside of yourself. You can't think, you feel lost with triggers and anger erupting and just so many emotions happening all at once. And that's from the sense of worthlessness, where you might be seeing a lot of things going on at once that are violating and wrong, but you don't have the self-worth to stop it, to set a boundary, to change it, to walk away, to fight it. And so inside of you, it all just jumbles and bubbles up and you're not able to cope with it. So a lot of people who come to me when they start working with me are discombobulated and desperate. And they just feel awful about themselves. This is normal for people who have had abuse. I don't want anybody shaming yourself for feeling like that. It's completely normal when you've had this sort of abuse. And then you end up in toxic relationships because you don't feel worthy. And so you just think you're a pile of shit and that's what you deserve to be treated like. Okay. And when you have all of this, the thing that you feel is a sense of overwhelm, that there are so many aspects to yourself that are shameful, wrong, and awful. And then you get overwhelmed by the smallest thing because it all just feels too much. And then when you get overwhelmed, your brain shuts down because it's too much. And so it's protecting you. And then you get immobilized and can't take action. And a lot of people at this stage shame themselves instead of understanding that's what's happening in the brain. It's not my fault. It's a natural reaction to overwhelm and abuse. All right. So let me tell you about Betty. Betty, as I said, this is an anonymous name. It's an alias. Betty started working with me in April last year. This was the last time that I've done a live workshop into the group. And Betty said, I hate myself and it's all my fault. And I was like, what's all your fault? This is all just publicly live in the Facebook group. And we worked through that from sexual abuse, she had decided it was her fault and she hated herself and she was bad and wrong and dirty. And she hadn't looked in the mirror and seen herself for yonks. And overworking with her just in the week with the live videos and everything, by the end of the week, she could look at herself and say, I love you and you're beautiful. Because she got to know in that time that what happened to her was not her fault, that all she ever deserved was love. And she learned to give it to herself. And that was through playing full out. So I wanted to tell you the story of Betty because I want to implore to you to put as much as you can into this workshop so that you can get a lot out of it. I can promise you, I'm going to give you 100%. I'm going to be here live in the group every single day, either in the morning or the evening, so that I can serve you. And I want you to serve yourself. I want you to show up and be here too, whether it's live or whether it's in the replays, so that you can honor yourself and make the time, like get your diary out and go, I'm going to give myself this time every day to honor me. I'm going to break the cycle and I'm going to say, I am worthy of this. I'm going to love myself enough to show up every day for me. And now she's in my Restore group, which is my membership, long-term membership for support and love and care. And I'm just so proud of her. She's gone from toxic, awful, critical friendships to now the friendships that are just, it sometimes has me in tears. They're so precious and loving and kind. She could not do that shift without knowing that she was worthy of love. And I want to tell you a little secret. You are worthy of love too. And whatever is blocking that love, I want you to know it's not your fault. You didn't deserve to be treated that way, and this is the impact of abuse. You have always deserved to be loved. And I want to support you in knowing the truth of that, so that every day, in every way, you feel loved, you know you are loved, and you treat yourself with love, so that you always experience love. All right. Let me check the comments for a second. Okay. So let me just scroll up. Okay. Yeah, that Sarah said when she would protect herself, she was accused of sulking. And that's proactive destructive. If you were here from the beginning, you'll know that's proactive destructive, of telling you you're bad and shaming you for protecting yourself. So I'll give you an example of me and my daughter. My daughter went through, you might have seen the video in the group, a period of hating me after being around my mum and hearing her say, oh, she's useless, being around her dad who said I was pathetic and disgusting because I got boobs. He doesn't like boobs. I can't help that I got boobs. They just grow out of me. I didn't choose them. But he thought they were vile and disgusting. So he used to look at me. If ever I showed any cleavage, ugh, you're disgusting. Anyway, she began to hate me. And then one night I said to her, let's talk about your hate. Let's go through all the reasons that you hate me so we can clear them. I didn't shame her for hating me. So where you were shamed for protecting yourself and laughed at and told you were sulking, I didn't do that to her. This is what you deserved. I looked at her and said, it must be so hard for you to hate me. I grew you in my belly. You came from me. You were grown from one of the cells inside of me. A little blood cell was where the start of you was formed. And when you hate part of you, a part of me, you're hating like 50% of you. That must be so awful for you, my precious. It just makes me feel so sad for you that you hate me. Let's talk about it. So for 4.5 hours, we spoke about all her hate. And she just went on. There are many reasons to hate me. And she went through all of them. All the words that she'd heard my mom's boyfriend, her dad say about me. And she internalized them as both self-hate and hate for me. And then near the end, she said, fuck you. And I was like, oh, my babe, that's like the worst word in the world. That's how much you hate me. That was the first time she'd ever sworn. She was 11. And I was like, oh, my baby, I just feel for you. I want to give you a huge hug that you feel that much hate for me. All your hate is welcome here, and we're going to love it all up. And she just looked at me astounded and said, you're the best mom on earth. And I was like, why? She said, because even if I hate you this much, you still love me. I'm like, of course I love you. But that's the love that you needed, Sarah. You didn't need somebody judging you and shaming you. You needed somebody saying, am I scaring you? Oh, my sweetheart, I can see I'm scaring you. I'm wrong. I want you to feel loved. It's not okay that you're scared. Come here, let's work through what's going on so that you feel loved as we process whatever is happening here. All right. Safira said, I'm feeling I deserved anything bad happening to me. That's the impact of abuse, is that it programs you to think that you are bad. Like if a parent does something and they blame you, they're not taking responsibility for their emotions, their energy. They're just dumping it on you because they don't know how to process their own shit. So they just, I don't know how to do this. Here we go. You deal with it for your whole life. Good luck with that. A healthy parent goes, I'm feeling angry. I'm going to work it through and we're going to create a solution together So you know that I love you, and we can work out what skills we don't have to navigate through this. Had that happened to you, you wouldn't feel like you deserved hate. But your parents didn't have that capacity, so they didn't know how to do it. It's not your fault that they didn't have the capacity to work through emotions. So let's look at a bit more of that to understand it. So I've described all these things that parents do to us and the world does to us. And what that happens is it's like a factory around us that programs us of all these different things. This is your programming, all of that going into you, into how you feel about yourself, into your behavior, into how you live your life, into what jobs you think you can have, all of that, into the relationships you can think you feel you can have, into how you love yourself. And what it creates is this human being who has this emptiness inside about themselves with this critical voice that they just ruminate about why they're bad and wrong. This is not your fault. This is toxic programming. You didn't deserve this. Had you had this precious, loving environment, you would have come out very differently. It's not your fault that happened. So let's look at how would we heal this? So still all of this happened. We can't magic that away. That's the reality. That's what happened. But what can we do differently? We can have a different sort of factory. What we can do is process what happened so we know that we're not bad and work through the feelings so we don't take it out on other people. And we can develop the skills of healthy, secure attachment so we can create a healthy, loving life. And the impact of that is that we feel loved and we feel and know we have thoughts that are responding to us as we deserve love. We are loved. We can relate with love. We create more love in the world. All right. So in this, what we do is create this loving witness of ourselves, like I was describing before. And when we have that loving witness of ourselves, then it alters that we create a loving relationship with ourselves because we're going, that wasn't okay. What you really deserved is this and this and this. So in moments in our past where we didn't have our loving witness, we need to now as adults go back into that and be the loving witness that we couldn't have for ourselves. All right, let me just check that I'm yeah, Malu, that makes so much sense of when parents are going through all of that you've had to be the parent, and then your siblings expect you to be that, and nobody allows you to be human. So you always have to be on. And that's exhausting, utterly exhausting. Like today, I was off. I sat down, friends cooked me lunch, and I did very little. I helped just before, but then I sat down. I was off. I didn't have to be on and parent everybody. I could relax. But when you have been the parent to everybody, you always feel you have to give to everybody else. Okay. Tiffany says that she's made this journey from hating herself to loving herself mostly. Yeah, you know, even for me, there are moments, Tiffany, that I go, I wouldn't say that was the most loving thing to do to yourself, Saria. So I can really get that mostly. And I can see that in you, Tiff, of the shift from self-hate and shame into loving kindness with yourself. And sometimes I think of you and I get teary because I'm so proud of the shifts. And so Tiffany says, through the work with Saria, so Tiffany's been working with me about 18 months in my Restore group. I'm so grateful that you invested in yourself to end that self-loathing. It takes courage to step and go, I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. So, is it blurred for everybody? No, it doesn't look blurred on the other thing. That's weird. Julie, I'm really sorry. I'm not going to. The people who join me in the program and restore, they get the slides, but the workshop is available until next Friday. And so you can rewatch them, but they're not available. I'm not going to be downloading them. It's taken me weeks to prepare them, and I'm offering this for free. And so I want to value my work. And in doing that, I teach you to value you too. Because if I just go, yeah, sure, everybody can have it. No, I've worked so hard on these. So they're available for 10 days until next Friday. And then after that, they'll be coming down. And those people who carry on working with me in the program, they'll have access to them because they've invested in themselves and they're valuing themselves. They're also valuing me and the work that I'm giving to everybody. So I hope that you can understand and respect that. Thanks. Okay. So Sophie said, since my sister was killed, I feel empty and numb, leaving my body. That makes so much sense. Okay, so Sophie, the way to find your body again is to enable your body to feel safe and to get the skills to process your feelings. Because if you don't know the skills, your inner protector that helps you disassociate goes, we are not going to go into her body because there's too much pain, so we're just going to stay out of it. So you have to get the skills to safety, to processing, to communicating healthy with yourself, to be able to respond and be that loving witness to pain. And when you've developed all of those skills, your inner protector goes, oh, wow, I think she's able to process this now. We can let her feel it in bits and pieces. And as you feel it, it will release a bit more because it feels safe with you, because it can see that you are not pushing it away or repressing it or making it wrong. And you're enabling yourself to process it. So I hope that helps and explains it. I know for myself, I spent many years numb and I couldn't understand why. And it was only when I taught myself to get safe that I could really process stuff. And then it was quick, because the more that I got the skills that anything cropped up, I could love myself. Like I remember driving along the road and I kept trying to swerve off, like my intuition was trying to swerve off into a tree to kill myself. And I was like, why is this happening to me? These intrusive thoughts that are going like, kill yourself, with my kids in the back of the car. And instead of reacting to the thought, I said to the thought, I want to hear all about you. Where do you come from? And what do you need from me? And then I got flashbacks of my mother trying to kill me by driving into a tree. And I had numbed that for years. I'd totally forgotten that memory. And then every time I got in the car, I would start to feel that, and I would know that this part of me was wanting to be processed. So I would just sit there and cry the tears and the fear that I had not been able to cry. And my kids would be going, what's wrong, Mommy? And I'm like, it's nothing to do with now. I'm just loving up my little girl inside who was hurting many years ago. And they would go, oh, Mommy, you look so sad. And I was like, it's really sad what happened to me then. And I could tell them, and they would like, oh, why would your mom do that? Because they hadn't experienced that before. And they were like, oh, Mom, that's really bad. But I was managing that and giving myself the love. And as I did that, I stopped wanting to drive in trees because that part of me had been processed. So I know you can do that. And it takes skills. And in the program that I'll offer at the end of the week, we have those safety skills, processing skills, and how to speak to yourself if you need more support with that. Okay. Yes? I want to get your name right. Eketa? I want to get your name right. Yes, I can see your comments. Oh yes, when I look to the side, I've got two screens up. Swasik says, I love your explanations. I love healing and treating aspects of my problems with the psychologist, but this is extra interesting to understand why I am and why I am like I am and why we're having this. So she says it makes her feel less guilty for not feeling great. It's really important. So, Aketa, I want to get your name right, and I think that I'm saying it wrong. Please help me so that I can get it right for you, so I can honor you. The thing about parenting the world and neglecting myself, I'm just realizing it. I'm moving away, but it seems to circle around me, helping me do what I'm doing. It's really hard to overcome that. I took years to help that. I kept getting into new friendship circles where I would parent everybody. And you know what one day I did? I decided I was no longer going to be anybody's free therapist. So my friends phoned to tell me issues, and I was like, oh, really sorry. I don't do free therapy anymore, but I am up for having adventures and fun. And they hung up, and I lost my whole friendship circle. And I realized that I hadn't been their friend. They were using me as a free therapist. And I spent many months in grief and rejection and hurt. And then I looked around and saw who was nourishing. This became my rule. Nourishing reciprocal, mutual relationships. And I looked for parents who treated their kids with loving attachment and security. And I just went to those people, and those were the ones who became my friends. And it changed my life, because then I had that. I had loving, secure attachment. All right, let's move on to the next thing. And I'll come back to the comments. So what are the skills that we need to grow? All right. So, wow, that's interesting. I've just mentioned healthy, secure attachment. So I was saying, I looked for friends who did this. So how I noticed it with their kids is that when the kids spoke, they didn't go, shush, just wait till I'm finished. They said, hello, my babe. What's up, babe? Whisper to mom. Okay. All right, I love you. So they weren't like, adults can easily wait. Adults have patience. Kids don't. To let them know their voice matters. And interestingly, that this friend who I watched see that, her daughter has just joined my Toastmasters club, and she did a speech this week. And I saw how clearly, passionately, and strongly she spoke, because her mother always listened to her voice and let her know it was worthy and deserving of being heard. And to see her daughter just speak so passionately about herself, I was like, well, that is the impact of secure attachment. You just feel so radiant and confident in yourself. So I just want to share that healthy, secure attachment is being attuned to yourself, being empathetic to yourself, and being responsive to yourself. So you're able to feel that you're having a feeling. You're able to empathize, welcome that feeling, not push it down or make it wrong. You're able to welcome that feeling. And then you're able to respond. You can identify, this is what I need, and you can respond to it. So that's healthy, secure attachment. And when you can do that with yourself, you can do it with others. But it could be the other way around. You could meet somebody who does it to you, and then you can do it to yourself. So many people in my program, they've learned from their responses to me how to do it to themselves. And from their responses from the whole group, not just me. And then also the next skill to grow is proactive, constructive responding to you. So it's seeing your needs before you get to a desperate state. So if you're thirsty, you tune into the place before you're dehydrated and you have a headache. Or you go to the toilet before you develop a UTI, because you're proactively noticing, this is what I feel and this is what I need. You're eating healthy food because you love your body instead of getting sick and then eating healthy food. So it's proactive, constructive, and it's being loving, boosting yourself up, growing the parts of your psyche that you didn't have as a kid, like the encourager inside of you, the supporter inside of you, the protector, healthy protector inside of you, that will go, this is not safe for you, you're not going into it, into a toxic relationship, for instance, that it won't allow you to do that because you have more self-worth. It's letting you know inside of yourself, I am worthy and deserving of love, and this is how I'm going to treat myself. And sometimes it can be really hard doing it on your own when you're around a toxic family and toxic friendships. So what's really important is to get into a supportive community And if you don't have that around you, we have it free in the group of Home for Restoring Love, where we have the rule of only empathize and don't advise. And if you want more support where there's training and group calls, then I'll be sharing about the program at the end of the week next week. All right. No, end of the week this week, Sunday. All right. So one of the essential practices that you can start, let me just check if there's anything that I'm missing. Ekayite. Wow. Is that right? Have I got it right? Ekayite. That's beautiful. Can you tell me what it means? Okay, let me just check that I haven't missed anything. All right. Donna, it makes complete sense that you're scared to process your emotions. You think of yourself as a little kid who had all sorts of emotions that probably, if you're in my circle, you had emotional abuse where you were made wrong or mocked. Like, for example, growing up, I was told, oh, shut up, stop crying. If you don't stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. So straight away, there was a fear that if I cried, I was going to get punched in the face, which I did. I got slapped or punched if I cried. So, of course, there was a huge fear to cry. So maybe something like that happened with you that made it unsafe to cry. And we need to create those skills now of safety, of letting us understand, here's why you can't cry, why it's so scary. And instead of making yourself wrong that you can't cry or you can't process, and I shared this often in the group, it's way better not to flood the group or yourself with your past trauma until you've gained the skills for safety, empathy, noticing and being attuned to your feelings, processing what you're feeling, expressing what you need, and able to let in what you need. Because if you just flood your trauma everywhere, it creates a toxic environment in your own body and it triggers other people because they're having to do your emotional labor. And it's really awful that you've gone through hell in childhood and now you need to repair it. It's exhausting and it's tiring, and I get how horrendous it is. Though when you just flood everybody, it leaves you vulnerable, feeling weak, feeling scared, alone, even though people are responding to you, because you haven't gained those processes in with yourself. So in my Restore membership, people have got really good at noticing what they're feeling and sharing what they need from everybody else, so that the people who respond feel empowered, and the people who are receiving that love are able to thank everybody. So there's this cycle of healthy, secure attachment where people are sharing what they're feeling and what they need. Other people are responding, giving them what they need, and they can feel met and loved in the process. Those are steps and skills to healthy love that you didn't receive in childhood. You didn't have those, so how would you know about them? Where would you have been taught them? They're not at school, they're not at university. If you didn't have them in the home and you didn't meet somebody who was who came from a secure environment, and then they got involved with you and taught you how to do that, how would you know? It's impossible. So you need to give yourself a break and go, no wonder this life has been hard for me. Now I want to create a better life. Learn these skills so that I can thrive and create that secure attachment with myself so that I can shift my reality and create a better world. All right. Okay, so Tiffany says Zaria's guided us to take small little pieces and deal with that small piece. You can't tackle your whole childhood in one afternoon. It's just one at a time. And then if you felt scared or unsure, we would work through one memory until it's more manageable. And I often will advise anybody in my group, don't process the memory until you've got the skill. Ask that memory, what are the skills that I need to be able to manage to look at you and weave love into you so that I am there. I'm the loving witness for that little child that you were. And often the memory will tell you what you need. And in my group, what I'll do is create a meditation or whatever else you need if we don't have that in the video library already. It means mother of the father. Fascinating. Wow. Yeah, okay. I need to write down your name of how to say it so I can get it. I'm going to just write it on a little note, because when I'm doing this, my memory is so taken up with remembering all the stuff that I need to do. So I've written it down, and I'm going to post it here so that when I look down on the computer, I can see your name and say it right. All right, so let's go back to practice you're not knowing a failure. This is a simple concept. Are you ready for it? Are you ready? This will relate to what we were just talking about. Shaming you, making yourself you think that you're bad. We have to stop. No more of that. No more saying you are bad and awful. What we have to go into is the empathy and skills we deserve, so we know we are good, but we just need skills to get it right. So say it with me. I am not bad. I am good. I just need the skills to get it right. And that you don't know the skills that you need is not your fault. Nobody's shown them. Nobody's told you what they are. Nobody's taught them to you. How are you meant to know? You're not bad. You just weren't told how to do it to get it right. So each little bit where you are not getting it right is just a bunch of skills that you can isolate one by one and learn those different skills until you can get it right in that area. Whether you're failing in failing in finances, relationships, self-esteem, tidying the house, they're all just little skills that you can learn one by one until you get it right in every area. And as you think to yourself, I'm failing in all of this. No, I'm not bad. You're only failing if you quit on yourself and go, I'm bad and useless and I'll never get this right. You will get it right. It's just little skill steps, one by one. And when you get that, you know, I'm good. I just need skills to get it right. All right. So I want to share about Nikki, because I can bet some of you, which you've already mentioned, have this critical voice inside of yourself that tells you Zaria is wrong. Zaria doesn't know what she's talking about, because if she knew me, she would know I was bad. And that's not the truth. If I knew you, I would know that you've gone through a lot of trauma. And because you've gone through emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, racism, you feel bad and worthless in yourself. And when you feel bad and worthless in yourself, you tell yourself that you're bad and worthless. So I want to share with you the story of Nikki. When she started working with me, she had this voice that was just a bully inside of herself, putting her down, making her wrong. When she would want to do something, like there was a moment in a yoga situation where the teacher always used to come and put a mask, and she didn't want that to happen. But the critical voice would just be awful to her. And she had to turn and learn to relate to this critical voice, to set boundaries with it, and to also welcome it and understand, where have you come from? What are you doing here? And what do you need? And what I helped her to work with is that this critical voice is an ally. It shows her what happened to her. It shows her what it needs to be healed. It shows her the pain that she went through, and it wants to protect her from further pain. So it's really controlling and critical to stop her doing things so she won't get re-hurt. And as she works to heal this pain, the critical voice becomes a loving guide. As she teaches this voice to going from proactive destructive into proactive constructive, it goes from a voice who crushes her spirit into one that uplifts her. All right. So let's go to the next slide and see. Oh, okay. Let me just check quickly. Do we have any questions? I'm not too sure how long the session is. It's nearly finished. I think there's 3 more slides, and they're quick slides. I'm not going into, I'm just sharing about the contest, then I'm sharing about the Q&A tomorrow, and then I'm sharing about your love work. So 3 sessions, 3 slides at least. Okay, so the contest. We're having a contest, and the ultimate prize is the Be Your Own BFF 8-week program, where there are weekly sessions to weave love into you. There are community sessions with the LUFU crew to have breakthroughs around being supported as you take action. So maybe when you were at home as a kid and you did something wrong around cooking, we help you to navigate that so you learn to receive encouragement, cheerleading, and care rather than always making yourself wrong, and learning to take honoring action that leaves you feeling good and is aligned with your energy. And also has a video library of meditations and practices to help heal you and help you thrive. And people have joined from a range of, they've felt completely desperate and really struggling, and other people are kind of thriving in their lives. But like for one person had broken up with her boyfriend and felt lost and just wanted a community where she knew that if she shared, she would get proactive loving. And I asked her why she stayed when she's really functioning and happy, thriving in her life, purposeful, amazing. And she just said, because she loves the community. It's just the most safe, wonderful place to be. So the person who wins the contest, there is the link to it that you can go and look. What I want you to do to get extra points, you can share the link to this course, which is zarialufu.com/B-C. If you share it with other people and you tag me, you will double the points that you get. And what you need to do at the end of this session, when you click on that, you will see a link to workshop 1 right at the bottom. If you click on that and you shared now or in the replay in the week, you share what insight you got from it, what you loved about it. We will take all those, for every person who comments on that, we will enter your name into the contest. All right. Then what's next? Oh, your love work. Yay. So the first thing I want you to do is see where your self-worth came from. I want you to think about the comments that you had from the past that you were told. Like I was told I was useless and pathetic. I don't want you to drown in that. Your mission is not to dwell on that. I want you to move through into how did that make me feel? So I want you to become a loving witness to yourself. And I want you to empathize with yourself. It makes sense that you felt like that. That's a legitimate way to feel. You didn't deserve that. Of course you feel angry and upset. That was wrong to be treated that way. So I want you to empathize and validate your experience. And then you can do a collage and post it in the private group of Home for Restoring Love. And the place that you can post that, I think, I'm going to check in this thing quickly, if the post is, if I'm remembering it quickly. I think I've made these little pretty links so I can remember what they are. Oh, I've spelled my name wrong. That won't work. Okay. I'm just seeing if that. Oh, yes. Okay. So if you go to zarialufu.com/W1 for workshop 1C for connect. If you go to that post, you can share privately. I'm just wondering if that's right, because it should be in Home for Restoring Love. Well, you can try that. If not, then I'll create a new post for you. So you can tell me if that's in the private space, because I want you to be able to share in the private space this. Okay. Then the next thing I want you to do, so today you can do the comments from the past, and tomorrow I want you to contact a few friends and ask them, what do they like and value about you? And this came from somebody in the group who wrote a beautiful post, Nicola, about what her friends like and value about her. So I want you to do that. One, look at the past and focus on the empathy to be a loving witness to yourself. And then second, ask different friends. You can even make a Facebook post, though it's way better to do it one by one, because then like text people or give them a call and say, can you give me 2 minutes of your time? I'm in an exercise in a program and I have been asked to do this. So you can own it as that. And you can either share publicly in the contest there on that contest page on workshop 1, or you can share, there we go, it's not C, it's S for sharing. So go and share privately in that link, all right? So some people are happy to share publicly, that's totally okay. Some people only want to share privately, share in that group, and you will get an entry into the contest. Because I want to really help you to take action so you get results, and this is to encourage you to do that. All right, so then let's go to the next one. Oh yes, tomorrow. So if you've got any more questions for me that I haven't answered, you can go to this link and you can put your questions on, and I'm going live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night to be able to answer you. You can put any questions in the comments tonight and I will carry on answering you until all the questions are complete. So the Q&A tomorrow is the same time that this started, 7 p.m. UK time, 2 Eastern, or 11 Pacific time. And then the next Q&A after that, if you want to come live, is for the other people in Australia and Auckland, Thursday, 10 a.m. So if you want to answer in that group, that you can go to the units in Home for Restoring Love and you'll be able to see both those Q&As are already programmed and live. So you can put that, so you can do Q&A 1 if you want, if you're able to come tomorrow night, and if you can come on Thursday morning UK time or 7 p.m. Sydney time, do QA2 and write it under there, and I will answer your questions for the time slot that you can be in. All right, so just a reminder of your love work. Write down the comments that were said to you, how you felt, or the still face that people had around you. And what I really want you to develop is that loving witness to yourself with empathy and validation. And then number 2, I want to hear, what do your friends like and love about you? Then come and share it in the contest to be able to win an entrance to get the ultimate Become Your Best Friend prize, which is the 8-week program, or privately. And there is the link, W1S. All right, so let me just go and see if there are any questions. No problem, Julie. I wanted to answer you so that you know. It's really great to have you here. Shafira, it's not important to remember what happened because memory warps. So we can have a memory, like for instance, in my childhood home, I had a memory that the pool was directly in front because my mother had thrown me into the pool or let me fall into the pool. No, I think she'd thrown me into the pool when I was 2 so that I would learn to swim. I was freaked out, but I did learn to swim. But obviously I had some trauma around that because I was completely disorientated, and I remember so clearly that the pool was in front of the house. It wasn't, it was to the side. So it doesn't matter how your memory looks. What matters is you become a loving witness to yourself. And I've had people who think, oh, my memory is wrong. It doesn't matter if your memory is right or wrong. What matters is you love yourself. That's the primary focus of this work, is loving yourself. And what happens as you do this work is your memories change because you weave healing into yourself. Like the memory that I have of where my mother kicked my head into the floor, that's completely changed. Now what there is like this outline. you know, when somebody's murdered and it has the outline, now I just see like a black spot of an outline of a little child on the thing, like I was killed off in that moment. And every time I look back at that memory, I hardly ever see my mother kicking my head in, which led to me being not able to smell for 20 years. But now I just see this black thing, and I literally go and stroke it whenever I think of it. So I still am doing healing on that. That's not completely healed for me. I sit and I pick the energy of this dead spirit, and I love her, and I tell her I'm sorry, and I work through what she's feeling. So my memory of that moment has completely changed, and there are weird things that happen in that memory now that didn't happen there in reality. I don't mind. I just know that's my soul trying to bring different things into the memory to help me to heal. And sometimes they look weird or graphic or wrong, and I'm just trusting my soul and welcoming all these different threads into me and saying, okay, this is trying to get me to have a feeling that hasn't yet been processed around that moment. And then I will empathize with myself, feel it in my body, shake it off, work through it, do EMDR or brain spotting on it, whatever tool I feel will work for it at the time. But the biggest thing is protecting myself, loving myself, empathizing with myself, and slowly the memory heals. And like sometimes I'll look at it like now as I'm thinking of that, and I can see the blackness, but I can see the smile in the little girl saying, thank you for your patience, because I've worked with this memory for so long. But it was horrendous, you know, to have lost your smell for 20 years and have stars everywhere. Of course that little girl is going to be painful. And I just keep loving her. So my relationship to her is just all about empathy and love, and letting her know that I'm fully here for her. All right. That's totally okay, Julie. You can share in the private space. But my one request and my boundary is, don't message me your trauma. So I'm not saying this personally to you, Julie, but I get it every week or two, sometimes daily for a while, especially in these workshops, of people feeling, hey, I can just offload everything because I don't want to share publicly. If you're not ready to share publicly, that's totally okay. And I absolutely respect that, and you don't need to. But don't message me your trauma, because you think I'm a single mom with 2 kids who I am loving, and I'm running this workshop, and I need to bring my best energy to the workshop. And if you are messaging me your trauma, your upset, you're not valuing my energy and my time. You're just feeling your trauma is upsetting, I'll just flood Zaria. It's not respectful of my energy and my time. So if you have an issue with tech or anything like that, you can message restoringlovehelp@gmail.com. And one of my Restore members, I'm very grateful, is going to run that so that I don't need to deal with tech issues. Or you can post it in the group, and you can tag Team Lufu, and other people who are in my Restore group are happy to come and help with those, so that I can just focus on serving everybody. So please honor that and not message me. That's not personal to you, Julie. It happens often, and I have to repeat it, and then people feel offended. It's not personal to anybody. It's just a boundary of my energy and time. So thanks for respecting that. Yes. Isabel, you can ask your friends, you can ask your children, you could even ask in Home for Restoring Love. We love you there. But I can bet there are a couple of friends. You can say, I'm doing an exercise for something, and there will be a couple of friends who utterly love you, who you trust and know. So you can do it then. But absolutely ask your kids, your husband. Okay. Thanks, Sana. I appreciate that. Julie, I know that you weren't planning to message me. I didn't have the sense that you were planning to message me. I just am very grateful to you that you reminded me of that, because I had forgotten to put in any like emails or anywhere of please don't, because every time I do a workshop, I get 3 or 4 messages a day of people wanting to tell me their stuff, and I've forgotten to announce it in the group. So I want to just do that. So not personal to you at all. I'm just grateful for you that your comment made me think of it, because then I can set the boundary from the start of honoring my energy and time. Because the more energy and time that I've got to do this work and serve you, the more difference I can make. But if my energy is being drained by setting boundaries of saying, please don't message me, I feel wary, because then I'm not feeling valued. So I thank you to everybody in the future. And thanks, Julie, for triggering the thought to remind people. I'm grateful to you. Okay. Hi, Jessica. Oh, thank you. Sharifa. That's the same as me, because my name's Zaria and your name is Sharifa. And I've been saying it how I don't like people saying my name. So I deeply apologize to you. So thank you for telling me, because I keep saying I want to get everybody's name right. So your name is pretty similar to mine. I'm Zaria, and I don't like people saying Zariah. So my name's Zaria, and your name is Shafira. Have I got it right? Shafifa. No, I'm going to get it wrong now. Sharifa. So I'm going to write that down too, next to my name, so that I can get it right. So thank you for correcting me, and thank you for letting me know so that I can honor you, because it's a yucky feeling, somebody getting your name wrong. So thank you for telling me. I appreciate you, and I'm proud of you for having the courage to let me know that I've got it wrong. Thank you. All right. All right. Well, have a lovely birthday tomorrow with your daughter, and I hope you found the piñata and you have a load of fun. So are there any other questions? I'm here, and I will be here for a few minutes. So have you got any questions about this? I wonder if I can, no, I can't copy this page. So I want to just wonder if there's a way to do it. All right, I'll stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to take these off so I can see the computer. And then I want to just quickly copy and paste here and put it into the comments so that people can click on these links. And then I'm going to share the homework into the link, and you can tell me what other questions you have. And now I'll be able to actually look at you, because I'll be looking at the right screen. So there it is. All right, Danielle, loads of love. All right. So I am here. So let me know, everybody, if you have a question. So just write a why, because I know it takes a while to type. So if you've got a question, just type why, and then I will wait. If nobody has any questions, then I will leave. And for those of you who are watching and haven't signed up, I will put the link there so that you're able to sign up. And then let me know. If you've got a question for me that I haven't answered, then let me know, so that I'm just going to scroll up and make sure. It looks like I've answered everybody. I'm just scrolling through to see. Okay. I think that I have. Tiffany says that she gets scared and freezes. She knows that it's going to be a lot of work, and the thought of diving into all those emotions can be daunting. We've been self-preserving with different tricks and emotions our whole lives, and those parts might be frightened that we're going to put self-love into the forefront. That makes complete sense. Oh yes, Julia, I missed that comment. Talk to the whispers before they come monsters. That's one of the things that I often share in the group, is that when we've got something that's niggling inside of us, that's going kind of like where I was driving, pulling off to drive into a tree. That was like a whisper going, this is not, some things underneath. That's a trauma that's wanting to be met. And instead of waiting it until I did commit suicide, I faced it and empathized with it and processed it. So it's really key that if you have a whisper that's there, that you learn to meet it in a healthy way. Okay. I think I've seen everything. Okay, so is there anybody who wants to say anything? So maybe you can just quickly share. Is there one thing that's really made a difference to you today? You can share it here, or you can share it into the contest page. I can't see the contest page right this moment, but you can share it in either one, because I'm curious to hear what made the most difference to you while you were in this. What are you finding that was really helpful for you? I'm curious to hear. When you go to the contest page, I'm just going to check it. You'll have to scroll all the way down to get to workshop 1. And then when you click on workshop 1, you'll be taken to a post. Should be taken to a post. Yep. Wow, it worked. That's fabulous. So this is the post for those of you who are coming later. That's the post where you can share what you found helpful and what made a difference to you to earn an entry into the contest. My story of stopping my friends using me. You know, I'm still not friends with those friends. And as I was speaking today, I could feel the sadness of that, because I really loved them and I thought that it was mutual, but I was deceiving myself. It was not mutual. And now my friends are just so sweet and so responsive. So yeah, I want you to know, Ekayite, that you are worthy and deserving of that sort of loving too. And I don't want you to stay around people who just use you. And you can teach people how to treat you. You deserve to be loved and cherished and valued. Julie said, it's okay to learn to love myself, and it's not my fault that I don't. Absolutely not your fault. There was nothing as a child you could do to learn the skills to love if you were in a family that wasn't loving. There's nothing you could do. How could you do it? You're desperately trying to get love, whether it's attention, you know, making a noise, or whether it's cooking sweetly. Both of those are toxic, because you're over-functioning and pleasing, or you are releasing and flooding everywhere. Both of them are a very similar energy. They're sort of over-functioning energy. Or you just give up and numb yourself and cut off. How on earth, in an environment like that, are you meant to love yourself? It's not your fault for a second that you were treated like that. And that you don't know the skills to love. How could you know the skills to love? You weren't given them. You weren't shown them. You know, I see the difference in how I parent my kids through stuff versus how my mother parented me. It was my choice that I was not going to beat my kids like I got beaten. It was my choice that when my kids said something, I wasn't going to go, you know, like I have hated using normal soap, because if I swore, my mother made me eat soap, and it was so vile. So my whole life, I've refused to have soap bars around. My daughter's just put out a soap bar, And I was like, oh, I don't like it, because I had this sort of visceral reaction of where she would make me take a bite of the soap bar if I said something bad. My kids can say anything to me, anything at all, and I will go, oh wow, you're pissed off with me. Let's talk about what I've done. I want to put it right. I want to repair it in your heart so you feel good about you. Like maybe some people will react to this, but once my son called me a cunt, and I went, this cunt, this beautiful thing, you came out of this cunt. He never called me cunt again. He didn't get into trouble. We were both laughing our heads off. And I was like, you're really angry with me. Do you want to talk about that? After we'd finished laughing. Never called me that again. It just becomes a humorous joke with us. And he isn't punished for it. He's loved for what he communicates. If he hasn't communicated in a healthy way, I might say, I'm finding it hard to hear you because of the way you're talking at me. I need to hear it in a different way because it's triggering me right now, and I really want to hear you. Let's work through this together and find a solution so we both feel valued and honored. And then we do. So, but it takes skills to learn that. One of them essentially is how to be safe and regulated and calm yourself so you're not flooding somebody else. And of course, I get it wrong. All the people in Restore will hear moments where I get it wrong, but then I'll go back and go, I screwed up. I didn't respond to you in the way that you deserve and that you needed in that moment. You needed a safe space, and I got triggered because I was tired and working too hard and not able to listen in the moment. Can we have a do-over so I can get that right for you? And then we would do it over, and I would get it right, and he would smile and say thank you, and it's repaired. I didn't have that as a kid. I had that if I had done something wrong, I was bad. Whereas my kids have, if I get upset, it's because I'm overtired and I need to manage my energy better, and they are loved, and I'm going to put it right if I've got upset. Because we're human. Of course, we get angry or upset sometimes. That's natural. This work is not going to make you an angel. In fact, being an angel is probably unhealthy, because then you're always nice and sweet to other people. Being real and human is having a human experience. But all your feelings are completely valid and welcome and okay. What's not okay is your behavior of taking it out on other people. So it's really essential to learn to be a safe space to yourself so you can be healthy with other people. So I hope that that's helpful. If there are no other questions, then I am going to love you and leave you. And I want you to know more than anything that you are worthy and deserving of love. And I look forward to answering your questions tomorrow. So share them in the Q&A thread, whether you're coming to tomorrow night or Thursday morning, so that I can answer you. And I'm grateful to the two of you for sharing what you valued and what you've taken away. And come and share in the comments, everybody, in the contest. I'm looking forward to seeing who comes and joins us in the 8-week program. All right. So I will just quickly put up this for those who who've missed it and are just coming in, so that you can have, there is the link. So you can find the contest and your homework. So I want you to go away. Oh, it's not. There you are. I want you to remember what comments were said to you, how you felt, and your most important thing is becoming a loving witness to yourself and empathizing with you, so you are there for you. And second, ask some friends, what do they like and value about you? So you can get a real mirror reflection of who you are to them, because sometimes our relationship to ourselves is distorted. So we want to get an honest reflection from other people of who we are. And then if you want to enter the contest to win a prize, you can share zarialufu.com contest, or privately go to zarialufu.com W1S. All right. I'm sending you all so much love. And I'm going to end the broadcast now. We'll see you online in Home for Restoring Love. And please remember, you are worthy and deserving of love. And in every area that is not as functional as you would like, you're just a few simple skills away to achieving those. It's not always easy. It takes hard to learn a new skill, but you're worth it. So I look forward to seeing you. Tomorrow we've got the Q&A. Wednesday we've got the next workshop. Thursday we've got a Q&A. And then Friday we've got another workshop. So those 2 workshops are overcoming toxic beliefs and empowering ourselves. And then boundaries, honoring boundaries that enable you to say yes to you. So I will see you in the Q&A tomorrow. I'm sending you love. Bye. Okay.